Our speaker today is Monette Richards. She led the effort to organize the first Ohio Secular Summit last year in 2013, and she's currently working on this year's event, which will take place on Tuesday, January 28th, in just a couple short weeks. Monette Richards is a lifelong atheist, feminist, and activist. Recently, she brought all three of these traits together. She and her husband dragged their teenage daughter to the recent rally in D.C. in May of 2012. Attending the Women in Secularism conference that same year motivated her to get involved even more. She's currently volunteering in the capacity of president of Center for Inquiry Northeast Ohio, on the board of directors for Secular Women, and is exploring community building projects. Following in her grandmother's and father's footsteps, Ms. Richards is self-taught in information technology with no formal post-secondary education. She has worked her way to her current position running the IT department for a local company. When not being an activist, one can find her riding a motorcycle, knitting, or making fun of pop culture. Please give Monette Richards a welcome.
Thank you. I have to say, this is an amazing group. This is just coming into such a welcoming together meeting with everybody really mingling and puts it all together. One of the things that I wanted to start off with reading, because probably most people haven't read this, is the preamble to the Ohio State Constitution. I know we had brought up the motto earlier with God all things are possible. We, the people of the state of Ohio, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom to secure its blessings and promote our common welfare, do establish this Constitution. So already it's stacked against us. And obviously listening to the examples that we brought up of why church and state is so important to us, probably every single person in this room could at least paraphrase the first provision of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Right there, number one, very first thing they do is say, keep religion out of it and keep yourself out of religion. Because that keeps the government from making laws that infringe on religious beliefs. You know, laws that will keep you from marrying your same-sex partner. Or laws that will put funding to crisis pregnancy centers who have a Christian agenda. Or laws that fund abstinence-only education, which also have Christian agendas. Or, you know, stopping women from having bodily autonomy and allowing pharmacists to deny dispensing medications or mandating that doctors perform ultrasounds. Oh, wait. A lot of those laws are already in place. And in Ohio, we have quite a few of those. Laws that stop you, at least used to stop you from being able to buy alcohol at all on Sunday. Now you just have to have a special license for it, and you still can't be near a church, sell your alcohol. And some of those types of laws have just been passed. The Ohio budget had quite a few of them, and I'll go over that in a bit. And then there are also a whole bunch of bills that are on the table. I've been swimming through bills left and right lately, and there's some just really, really fun stuff in there. We have HB 200, which gives incorrect information on breast cancer, abortion leading to breast cancer. Or HB 308, which I like to call the Island of Dr. Moreau law, which actually, this is the quote, to prohibit human cloning, the creation, transportation, or receipt of a human-animal hybrid, the transfer of a non-human embryo into a human womb, and the transfer of a human embryo into a non-human womb. As my husband said, the Harry Potter movies really put them out with the centaur thing. We have all sorts of bills that put religion above the law. HB 303, which they call the Ohio Student Religious Liberties Act. So we know that it protects religious liberties because it's right there in the title. Just like the Patriot Act. Right there in the title. It says, a student enrolled in a public school may engage in religious expression before, during, and after school hours in the same manner and to the same extent that a student is permitted to engage in secular activities or expression during corresponding times. So you can proselytize, as long as it doesn't disrupt classes. You can do religiously motivated bullying and wear your God Hates Bad shirt. Religious students getting out of co-ed physical education because they can't mix the sexes, which is going to be fun to see that battle with Title IX then. Or religious students being able to get out of certain assignments based on their religious beliefs. And it also goes on to say that no school district, board of education, or governing authority shall prohibit a student from engaging in religious expression in the completion of homework, artwork, or other written or oral assignments. Assignment grades and scores shall be calculated using ordinary academic standards of substance and relevance, including any legitimate pedagogical concerns, and shall not penalize or reward a student based on the religious content of a student's work. A quick note, notice curriculum was not listed in that. But religious students answering science or historical assignments with religious dogma, and teachers being unable to grade them poorly on that. It's a protection for they're punishing me for my faith, regardless of how poorly the assignment was done. That response from the student now has standing, if this bill passes. And these are all bills. HB 304 is these were all clicked on right at the same time, hence the consecutive numbers. Shall give the same access to school facilities to students who wish to conduct a meeting for the purpose of engaging in religious expression as is given to secular student groups, without regard to the content of a student's or group's expression. So let's all get together as good Christians and talk about why black people should still be slaves, or why God hates fags. HB 376 then came a little later, and it is the revised code to enact the Ohio Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Okay, again, we know it's about religious freedom because it tells us so. Which basically comes down to no undue burden on practicing their religion. And I'm not sure how many people are aware that in 1993, the Federal Restoration Freedom Religious Act came into being, and it was passed almost unanimously. I think only 3 people voted against it in the Senate. I think the House was unanimous. And Clinton signed it, of course, right away, because religious freedom, who could be against that? And in 1997, it was declared unconstitutional as it applies to the states. But they still use it on the federal level. And interestingly enough, when it was proposed in Ohio, they were calling it the Put the Jesus Pictures Back into the Schools Act. Which it would not apply because this protects individuals. And the school is not an individual for which it to protect. But also, there's already a provision in the Ohio Constitution that has been decided by the Ohio Supreme Court that provides the same protection. And as far as we are talking about a burden on practicing religion, when your religion starts to bump into other people's noses, there should be a burden at that point. So most of these provisions, these 3 bills, I mean, they sound so innocuous. You know, just give them the same freedom they have as the secular students. It's just as, you know, just religious freedom. We're just protecting it more. And that's part of the real danger. You know, they sell it as just protecting religious freedom. But they start putting religion above the law. That is the deciding, it's the trump card there, especially bills 303 and 304 with the students. One of the recent ones to enact, or to be proposed, is in the Senate, actually, Senate Bill 249, and that is to establish a chaplain of the Senate. The chaplain of the Senate, an unpaid position, may be from any religious community, body, or organization. The chaplain of the Senate shall open each session of the Senate with prayer, and shall provide counseling and spiritual care and counseling for Senate members, staff of Senate members, and family of Senate members. When performing these duties, the chaplain of the Senate shall be nonpartisan, non-political, and non-denominational. So from any religious body, and they were going to open it with prayer, non-denominational prayer. Oh, praise, insert body here. And they'll remain non-denominational, you know. Right. We also have, and if you come to the Secular Summit, which I really, really hope you do, Jamie Miracle from NARAL will be there, and she will actually go into this a little bit more, but we have the anti-repro rights bills. From 2011 to 2013, states passed 205 anti-abortion laws. 205. In the previous 9 years, only 189 were done. But in the last 3, they did 205. In Ohio, HB 200, which a lot of these bills still sitting there probably won't make it anywhere, which is a really good thing, but they're still sitting there and they're still in committee, and none of them have really been like officially buried. So there's still the danger. HB 200, to modify the notification requirements given by a physician to 48 hours. And clinics are closing. We've already had, I think, 3 in Ohio close since the budget bill actually went into effect. So the distance for women to go to get abortion is getting further away. And to require women now to take time off to go, get the appointment, wait 48 hours, take time off, travel again. Yeah, I can go on about this all day. To require the physician to perform an obstetric ultrasound examination 48 hours prior to the performance. I'm just going to say Virginia, okay, and we'll move on. One of the wonderful things about this one is it changes medical emergency from the definition used to be a condition of a pregnant woman that, in the reasonable judgment of the physician who is attending the woman, creates an immediate threat of serious risk to the life or physical health, necessitating the immediate performance or inducement of abortion. That used to be medical emergency. Now, according to HB 200, medical emergency is so complicates the medical condition of the woman that the death of the woman would result from the failure to immediately terminate the pregnancy. First of all, they can't even call it an abortion. But we have moved from physical health to death. That's the only way you're getting out of it. And it also eliminates the medical necessity as a reason to perform an abortion without complying with that 48-hour notification requirement. So you still have to wait 48 hours even if it's killing you. And it also, again, makes the doctor give information about the abortion to breast cancer causation, which studies have shown that there's no basis for that at all. And that is one of the biggest things that anybody, I think, regardless of how you feel about abortion, regardless of how you feel about separation of church and state, but the fact that the legislation is now starting to tell doctors that they have to present bad science to their patients, that they have to, it's mandatory. That is one of the most egregious things that we have coming out of these. Because it won't stop there, for one thing. Moving on. HB 248, otherwise known as the heartbeat bill. This one got killed last year in the Senate right at the last minute. They didn't bring it to a vote. But this year, they brought it back with the Duggars. They brought them all into town, with the exception of like 2 kids. So that's what, 18 and counting? I don't know. I lost count. I don't like to follow them. They had a nice big event, nice big religious event to announce the proposition of this bill. The heartbeat bill is so bad that even the Right to Life organizations are against it because they know it won't stand up to the Supreme Court. And they don't want it going then because then that'll also knock down a bunch of other of these different bills and laws that we have. So the heartbeat is, if you can detect a heartbeat, you can't do an abortion. We can detect heartbeat as early as 6 weeks. That's before a lot of women even know they're pregnant. It also provides an unclear portion which may or may not lead to a transvaginal ultrasound for detection. So, I get too upset talking about that part, so I'm not going to go into it. HB 351 prohibits abortion coverage by insurance in Ohio. That one was new to me. I just saw it recently, actually, researching other bills. Private insurance. They want to make it so you can't even get private insurance for a medical procedure in Ohio. And it also redefines non-therapeutic abortion to basically mean if you don't have an ectopic pregnancy. I mean, that's the only thing. Ectopic pregnancy is the only definition for a non-therapeutic abortion now. It's the only necessary one. Then the budget came through last year. And I'm sure a lot of you heard a lot of the hoo-ha about that. It defunds Planned Parenthood. And it gives that money to crisis pregnancy centers. And NARAL did a wonderful study about the crisis pregnancy centers in Ohio and how they lie They set themselves up to look like abortion clinics when they're not. They get women in there. They keep putting off the pregnancy test, keep putting everything else off a lot of times until by the time that the women figure things out, it's too late for them to get an abortion anywhere else. And so it's interesting to find out, to really look at this and say that these laws are more apt to fund organizations that lie than they are organizations that are about the science and about the facts. It also mandates that doctors do ultrasounds and they give info on the developmental stages of the fetus. Most women who have had abortions, 61% actually, have had at least one child. So it's not as if they're unaware of the miracle of childbirth. And so the ultrasound and the giving the information is designed specifically to shame the women into not having it. Right crisis centers lose funding if they say abortion to their people that they're working with, to their clients. Abortion clinics must have transfer agreements, but hey, public hospitals cannot establish transfer agreements with abortion clinics, so who does that leave? Private hospitals. Who owns most of the private hospitals? The Catholics. And I don't know if you guys are aware, the Cincinnati-based Catholic Partner Health, or Catholic Health Partner, CHP, just made a deal with the Summa hospitals up in our area, now being 30% owner, which is what my insurance is based on. So, you know, if anything had, I'm beyond all that now, but if anything had to happen, and I would have to go to a Catholic church and make decisions, well, okay, do I want to drive further and pay, you know, 80% more, or not 80% more, but close. They won't, a lot of Catholic churches won't even give you the right to die, removing feeding tubes and stuff like that. You know, having to weigh all that now with our hospitals is, I think that's a big sleeper thing, really, the Catholics in the hospitals that people aren't really paying attention to, and they're getting more and more, and it's just a little side note there that we should start paying attention to. Just so preterm, fortunately, which is an abortion clinic up in Cleveland, and the ACLU are suing Governor Kasich over the budget, because what is all this stuff doing in the budget? Anyway, it's, which I think they have a really good standing for that. And it was rammed through. I watched the proceedings in the House over this, and just how fast they were all, okay, we threw these bills in, or these provisions in, we're not gonna talk about it, we're not gonna vote on it, it's on the floor, let's get it over with. The prayers they open with, yeah, it gets pretty scary. So we see this pattern of behavior with the General Assembly and the governorship in Ohio, repeatedly introducing or even passing bills based on bad science or religion or both, because coincidentally, you know, a lot of this bad science seems to agree with their religious dogma. So let's go back to that First Amendment, and that the first provision that everybody knows and is familiar with and we talk about. And at the end of that is one that not a lot of people really, doesn't seem to get a lot of attention. It's to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We have that right. We have that right to go to our government officials and say, you are wrong. What you are doing is wrong, and we want you to undo it, or we want you to stop doing it, or we want you to change the way you're doing it. The Ohio Constitution. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal protection and benefit, and they have the right to alter, reform, or abolish the same, whenever they deem it necessary, and no special privileges or immunity shall ever be granted that may not be altered, revoked, or repealed by the General Assembly. We have that right to go into them. And it's our responsibility to make our senators and representatives know that we are here. Because right now the religious voice is all they hear. And boy, are they really good at making their voice heard. They have the budget, they have the infrastructure, they have lobbying groups, they have the Ohio Right to Life. I mean, they've had a heck of a start on us too, I have to say. But the people who are not associated with any religion is up 20% of the constituency of the state of Ohio. 20% is not an insignificant number. In fact, that's only 2% behind the Catholics. And the majority of them are still, spiritual, yet not aligned with a specific dogma or sect. But they are also not aligned with a specific dogma or sect. Plus, we have the religious organizations who are also, we know, against these laws. Society for Humanistic Jews, the Americans United for the separation of church and state, other organizations who are based on very much this type of separation of church and state. But if we don't speak up, and if we don't tell them, we don't like these laws, and we think they're wrong, and you're doing them wrong, how will they know? How will they know that they are upsetting at least 20% of their constituency, if not a lot more? Because we all know when they make laws based on one religion, it hurts not only that only religion, but everyone else. How do we tell them? The internet has been an amazing way for people to get into contact with their representatives and senators. Petitions out the wazoo. Get positions and action alerts. CFI has sent out, we sent out an action alert on one of the bills recently. I don't even remember.
I think it was 276.
Yeah, thank you, 276.
Yeah,
it would have been 376, yeah. Which, did I even cover that one? Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 376. Okay, that is the Ohio Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Yeah. And that makes it very easy. You just click on it, and you send it over, and it contacts you. It looks up your information. It's awesome. But that also means that the representatives and senators are getting so many emails that they're ignoring an awful lot of them.
Goes to a special account that's ignored.
Yes. Phone calls. Phone calls are always a great way. You won't always get to talk to your senator or representative, but that is an option. Give them a call. Tell them, I don't like that you're doing this. And you just tell the aide that you're picking up the phone. I want them to vote no on HB 376. I want them to not even withdraw your sponsorship of it. Tell them why. Tell them what's bad about it. Tell them we want laws based on science and reason and facts, not this other stuff that you guys are making up. And that's why we have the Secular Summit. It is another chance for us to be seen and a chance to be heard. It's a chance to talk to our representatives and senators in person, face to face, to make them see. We're normal, real people. We do exist. We're not, well, some of us may be crazy. On average, yeah, we're normal people. And it's going to be. The summit is going to be really cool. Not only will you get to talk to them, as I mentioned previously, we have Jamie Miracle of NARAL, who will give us a better idea, a bigger picture of the ways that they're trying to shut down abortion in Ohio. David Bowman, who's a man from Springboro, Ohio, and I'm not sure if that name clicks some things in your memory. Just recently, they went through a battle with their own Board of Education who was trying to put creationism in the science classes. And they had to fight it. The people themselves had to get together. It was a real Tea Party. I mean, the people on their Board of Education are very involved in the Tea Party groups. And not only were they trying to put creationism in the schools, they were trying to make their very well-performing school district into charter schools. And the people had to get together and fight them on that, and they did win. And David's going to come tell us his story of his involvement in that. I think it's a great example of the things that we can do when we work together at a local level. Edwina Rogers from the Secular Coalition of America, she's the director, will be there talking to us about the election of 2014 from a secular perspective. Representative Mike Foley is from Cleveland. He'll stop in and say a few words. He reached out to Center for Inquiry a few months ago with kind of a help, they have a prayer caucus. And we met with him and had him and also Senator Mike Skindell come and talk to us. I think I might have said Skindell earlier, I meant Foley. And they did a great sort of the state of the separation of church and state in the General Assembly right now, which is, it's not very happy. We have a lot of, like I said, the prayer for everything. Prayer starting for everything. Prayer caucuses and yeah. So they're about, a group of 4 or 5, I think, kind of non-believers or not religious of them who just kind of stand in the back and talk and wait for them to get over with their stuff and then they get to business. We'll also have Michael Tedora, who is the Director of the Office of Public Policy for CFI and CFI's lobbyist to the United Nations. And he will come do our training for how to be an effective lobbyist. And he will have certain talking points for us and bills that we can talk about, and just to give us a better idea of the way to approach it, the way to go in. And then we have a catered lunch, which is included in the price. Registration is $10 this year. Last year I made it free. I would love to keep it free because I think this kind of thing needs to be free. But we also had a lot of people register and not show up last year. So I figured $10 with the inclusion of lunch might just keep people with that diminishing returns kind of thing. I know we have already the studies on, okay, they'll go in for the $10. They can't give that up. And honestly, if you can't afford the $10 and you want to go talk to me, I'm sure we can find sponsors for people who would love to help you out. So we'll do lunch, and then the training, and then when there's a tour of the State House scheduled, which is completely voluntary, whether you want to go or not, as well as the appointments with your senators and representatives. We are happy to work with you and make the appointments for you. Figure out who your representative, who your senator is, call and make those appointments, set them up for you, and then get back to you on that. Chances are you'll meet with an aide and not the representative senator. We were lucky enough last year to meet with Senator LaRose, who's fairly new in the General Assembly, I believe. But we met with Christina Regner's aide, which I have to say we went in and saw the Ten Commandments on the wall. Her church, or her cross that she was wearing, the Bible on the table. We introduce ourselves as secularists and as atheists and go over all our things. And then she goes, well, you know, I have to tell you I'm Christian. As if it was relevant. And as if we didn't know. But, you know, what are the...
Did any of you melt when that happened?
Later that night, by the way, NARAL is also having their Roe v. Wade celebration, anniversary celebration for 41 years. I have linked to that from our event page on Facebook. They have Robin and Marty, who authored a book, Roe v. Wade, the New Jim Crow, after Roe v. Wade, the New Jim Crow, or the New Jim Crow after Roe v. Wade. So that would be kind of a nice way to cap off the evening. The reason I started organizing the Secular Summits, as Agnes mentioned earlier, a couple years ago, my husband and I went to the Reason Rally, and we went to the lobby day that was put on by the American Humanist Association and the SCA. And we dragged our 14-year-old daughter along with it. We made it this great week. We went and saw the museums and everything. It was just this really wonderful participation in the legislative process, in our government, on a personal level. It was, we were lucky enough, since we're, you know, from Ohio, we had the SSA in with our senators, so we got to tag along with them, who were a little bit more used to this kind of thing, and kind of sit back while August and Sarah Moglia talked. But then we went on to our representative on our own. It's incredibly empowering. It really, really is, to just be able to go, you know, this is, I'm telling you, this is my participation. You know, voting is just the beginning of what we can do. It's just the least of our responsibilities. It's a government of, for, and by. That means it needs participation from us. We got killed in the 2012 elections. Ohio ended up as a super majority Republican from the Tea Party taking over and getting in there. I mean, the House, Senate, and governor's office, all majority. So, I totally went off on a tangent there. So it's important. It's important to let them know that even though they have a supermajority, their responsibility is to all of us, not just their majority, not just their party, not just people that voted for them, but for all of us. They work for us. And atheists, humanists, secularists, skeptics, we are a part of us. And we need to remind them of that. So I really hope to see you all there. It's going to be a great day. And thank you again for letting me come down here. This has been amazing.